Let's get the latest now with our reporter, Liabo Setho. Liabo, a very good afternoon to you. So thank you so much for joining us. I mean, let's talk about day two, right, of the four-day inquiry. Yesterday was mostly spent arguing over the issue of the jurisdiction, of course, by the CAC. But what has since come out of today's proceedings so far? Because we're still understanding from what we've just heard and dipped into, it's still leaning slightly more towards the issue of jurisdiction as well today.
Absolutely, Alicia. Good afternoon. Good to be speaking with you. Yes, today has been largely the cases of the banks making their submissions to the panel of judges here at the Constitutional Court. Most of them, Alicia, pointing out to the irregularities as well as faults and errors that they have been made in the submission by the Competition Commission to themselves, or the allegations leveled against themselves. For an example, I'll give an example that just a short while ago, Standard Bank was talking about when first this thing broke out, they reached out to the Competition Commission and the Commission was simply not willing to engage them. They said they tried through their senior counsel and legal representative, Kate Hofmeyer. She says her clients tried to reach out to the Competition Commission on numerous occasions and they did not, because they wanted to clarify certain things that they had been there. And because of that, the Commission also went to the media before even speaking to them, which led to them losing on the market, losing some market share at a particular point during the period in review. Nedbank also talks about some erroneous mistakes that have been made, talking about how in dates, for instance, that have been mentioned. In some cases, the Competition Commission mentions the 1st of January, which is a public holiday, New Year's Day, and says it is simply impossible that one would have been trading during that time. And they consistently put out consistencies and things that are just not possible, saying, still leaning towards this case should be dismissed and that it should be dismissed with costs, some others say. JP Morgan is one institution that we've heard from, Australia and New Zealand Banking Group we've heard from, Standard Bank, as I just mentioned a short while ago, Nedbank we've heard from, and others. But one person who has been inside the courtroom with me is the CEO of Inkunzi Wealth, Owen Nkomo, and I asked him if he could just join me to get his thoughts about what this all means and how he sees it from an economist and analyst point of view. He understands this trading thing very, very well. Owen, welcome to SABC News. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Your first impressions, having sat in there, we've sat there together. What does the case look like to you at this point with the submissions that have already been made?
Look, I think that the banks are going to work. It's a complicated case. It's very technical as well. Trading itself is a very technical issue. And I believe that the people that are assessing this case don't have enough experience, in my humble view, to make definitive decisions about the evidence that they have that could direct to whether there was collusion that needs to be punished, or there's a certain, or rather there's a different way to look at it. Yeah. But I do definitely think that the evidence is not strong enough against the banks. So I believe that these traders and the banks will definitely walk away here.
Yeah. Let's take a case in point of Standard Bank, which I think we set throughout its submission, and they talk about the impact that they suffered because the Competition Commission would not engage them.
Yes.
And would this be something that really weighs to their advantage and the disadvantage of the Commission, or is something that when the Commission comes back on Friday could simply have an answer for? And the impact of when institutions, make these kind of utterances, yes, first in the media before engaging the person that is alleged to have done wrongdoing, and the impact thereof.
Yes, look, it's actually a very peculiar situation where the Commission was running with the case for over 12 months before they could talk to the people that were involved in this alleged manipulation. So I do think that gives all the banks actually a right to say, why would you investigate this case so long and not contact us and not talk to our banks? I was actually approached for perspective by the Commission in 2015 regarding this issue in terms of how manipulation could have happened. We did our part, I believe, to explain the technicalities of how the trading market works, particularly the currency markets, where there is certain breaks during which, this kind of behaviors can be possible. But my thought process is that this market that we're talking about is 23 banks colluding in a market that is dealing with the US dollar rand market, which is less than 1% of the tradable market of the world currency markets. So it's difficult to assume that the impact that these banks had on our currency was the reason that the currency moved in the direction that it did, given the fact that there is 99% of other trading that was happening against this whirlwind that we're talking about right now.
Yeah. You deal with this just on an ordinary basis.
Yes.
I mean, we contact you all the time here at the SABC News to make sense of some of the way the currency moves, whether it's up or down.
Yes.
But perhaps maybe we could use this time to educate the viewers at home about when they see us talking about currencies, for instance, and how they move, the impact of, let's say there was the
Yes.
manipulation and the impact that would have had and they would have felt at home. Perhaps to just bring it a little bit back to the people at home.
So I want to actually extend on the point that I just made, that it is impossible that a group of traders that are influencing only 1% of the currency markets relating particularly to the rand and its major trading currencies could have created a protracted period of weakness in the currency that would have had an impact, for example, on things like inflation. Because I believe there is a broader market that drives where the currencies go. I believe there's broader sentiment that drives where the market goes. It's impossible to try and control the currency for a protracted period of time. But assuming that maybe the manipulation of the currency resulted in a weaker rand, that would have been inflationary, because everything we buy from outside the country, we would have been paying more. But assuming that the guys wanted a stronger currency, depending on their trading positions, it would have been good for the country from an importing perspective, but not from an exporting perspective. Because when exporting and the rand is strong, we're getting fewer rands than we would if the currency was weak. So generally, possibility of inflation, but I'm not convinced that this behavior would have resulted in some of the far-fetched suggestions that people could have lost jobs and things like that because of the manipulation. This process takes a couple of minutes per day, and I believe after that we go back into the bigger trading markets with the rest of the world. So I think that the only thing that could have affected us is a weaker currency leading to inflation, and a stronger currency having the opposite impact, but affecting obviously everything that we trade, given a currency pair that is outside South Africa.
Owen, thank you for summing it up, and I think hopefully myself and you viewers at home have a little bit of understanding of the impact of this. But Alicia, Owen Ngoma, I think, has said it better than I could have. We're going to rush inside because some more submissions are still being made, and to listen in on what other respondents are saying. This case is set to continue until Friday, but we're still going to be here and making sure that we give you blow by blow of what is happening inside the Constitutional Court. With that, it's back to you in studio, Alicia.
Thank you so much, Liabo Setho, the SABC News reporter, right outside, of course, the Constitutional Court. And of course, that matter is sitting between the Competition Commission, where they are seeking redress into alleged rand manipulation by several banks here in South Africa.